My name is Louise Campton, and I am the founder and director of a company called Primary Goal. And Primary Goal is all about placing apprentices into the school environment to help teachers and children to access and embed technology within their school. You've got some schools across the country that are real sort of leading ambassadors for technology, and have it right at the forefront. They have one-to-one devices for each of their children, and it's very much at the forefront in their school. And then you have quite the opposite, where you have some schools that are still using workbooks, and during the pandemic had to post out to their students the materials, which obviously is quite the other side of the spectrum. So I guess it's about moving all of those schools forward on a journey, and kind of just taking steps in the right direction. I think it just differs across all of the schools. So you see different ways of delivering an online teaching and learning experience to the students. I mean, I can talk about it from a parent perspective, and my son has SEN different challenges. So during lockdown, I went on to furlough to look after my son and his teaching and learning. And what was really interesting, his secondary school is fabulous, but they could only deal with loading onto their Firefly, which is their learner portal, the materials. So every day we would wake up and we would go through the whole list that had been set for him, and then we would be independent learners, which really should have been him as an independent learner, but he wasn't able to do that. And not once did we have any engagement from a teacher through that technology, where obviously it is available through Teams and various other formats, which lots of schools are utilising and doing really engaging lessons through. So it really shows that the technology is there, and it can deliver really inspiring, engaging teaching and learning opportunities to the children. I think it's to enhance the learning and to provide different styles of learning that resonates with each individual. I did a TED talk not so long ago on this, and I feel really passionately about whatever works for that learner should be provided, really. And my son learns through technology without a doubt. He is very passionate about technology. If you bring up something maths related on an app or something fun, he will absolutely understand the message, and he will end up ultimately becoming very strong in that subject because he feels confident through technology. But if you gave him a one-to-one lesson with a teacher, he would feel quite challenged by that. It wouldn't be a natural experience for him. And I think really, technology is what they're learning at home. The technology is what they're using. They're glued, sadly, in my opinion, quite a lot to their phones, their iPads, and that's what they're used to. That is their era that they live in. So when they go to school, that should be an extension of that, rather than it being a cut-off and this is the way. I think it needs all inputs. Some children need the one-to-one individual aspects, some people need technology, some people need group settings. Whatever is their learner style, really, I feel should be accommodated for. The bit that was missing was that inspiring kind of engagement from the teacher to say, even I felt really strongly that if they'd have brought them together at registration, even through technology, just in a forum where they could see that everybody else in their classroom was on the same place, in the same place as them, and having to learn from home, and maybe then join again at lunchtime and see what progress they'd had, and maybe do a bit of catch up with other learners. But it was just very isolated, independent learning. And for those of the children that didn't do well at that, it really was a challenge. why wouldn't we be using them? And I think often it's a barrier locally in the school that they just don't know they're there, don't know how to access them. And that's where our kind of digital champion apprentice comes in, because they act, they are the facilitator and the enabler of all of that. But yeah, I feel strongly that technology can be something that it levels out the playing field, and why wouldn't we use it is my feeling on it. It's tricky, if I'm honest. I think we've been thrust into this environment that none of us, could foresee, and we're swimming the best that we can in terms of the water that we have to try and stay, keep our heads above. And I think the schools, like if we're talking schools, in terms of the products and services, they have a challenge right now that they have bought in a lot of technology products and services that they utilise across their whole school, for example, and that will have cost them a lot of money. And they need to leverage that first. So they need to understand what each of those products and services do, and make sure that they're, pushing, they probably use them like 5%. If you were to look at an average of percentage of everything they use, like let's take their whiteboards, for example, which is a massive part of their budget. They buy Promethean or smart boards, and massive part of their budget, and they're in the classroom, and the teachers will use it sometimes just like an old style kind of blackboard, something to write on. And actually the level of impact through teaching and learning that can be achieved through one of those things is incredible, but they haven't got the time to understand how to use it and embed that into their teaching and learning. And I think that's kind of where, well, it's certainly where my business is at in terms of the Digital Champion Programme and facilitating that. But from where you're coming from, I think that's part of that process, is about exploring what is it that makes a real difference to the teaching and learning experience, and then breaking down how do we build the confidence and the knowledge in each of those areas. How are they accessible? What do you need to do? How do you need to use them? And I think breaking it down that way, but I think we're all on a journey, and I think some schools are leading that journey. If you look at some tech savvy academies that have got the one-to-one devices, and they know everything that they've got in their schools. They know all of their who's got every piece of equipment and what equipment they've got. Some schools are right at the other end of the scale, where they've got things in cupboards and they don't know what they've got. They don't know what they've spent their budget on. So it's about kind of understanding what it is they've already got in their school. It's not about spending lots more money. It's about understanding what they've got already and how can they really maximize what they've got to best facilitate, the confidence of the teachers, but also the children to utilize this in the classroom with their friends, and even getting parents involved. There's a guy called Dave Coughlin who is on LinkedIn, and he does a lot of work, and it's called the Rise of the Humans. And he works as, he used to work for Microsoft, and he promotes ed tech into schools and talks about the journey. And what he's really good at is talking about how things can't just return to normal. So, all the stationery sets, they are all there. And I've bought one because that's what you do. And you wouldn't dream of sending them off without that in their bag, because that's what a good mum does. But at what point do the shops and everything in society start adopting that change? And I think we're all on a journey together. It's not something that's going to be achieved overnight. I think the technology's jumped overnight, and they're saying that digital transformation in schools, in the journey that was expected in 3 years has actually been achieved in just 3 short months. So that bit has been achieved, but it's the expectation and the kind of acceptance from everybody else that we're going on that journey, and it's not just going to return to what it once was.